by boosting your immune system. So there are systemic cleansing. So a lot of times allergies is because you have an accumulation of all of this stuff in the system, and the body is just clogged up. It's toxic, and so it's about good cleansing programs, building your immune system. I use things like, for example, local honey.
Hi there, welcome back to another episode of Real Talk with Dr. Jim Sharps, where we really aim to demystify a lot of the knowledge and misinformation, or misknowledge and misinformation floating around about alternative health approaches. So Dr. Jim really aims to really give you a solid and trusted source of a lot of different lifestyle and health topics from the perspective of original medicine, and give you some actionable tactics and strategies that you can take away and actually implement practically in your daily life to, as Dr. Jim says, enjoy outrageous health. So Dr. Jim, thank you once again for being with us. We're approaching that time and that season again. In the UK here, the sun starts to come out after hiding for a majority of the winter months. And allergies and hay fever and that springtime, those springtime challenges rear themselves again. So we wanted to cover allergies as we enter that time of year. So perhaps I could ask as a first question, what are some of the common allergy symptoms? And I know hay fever and that kind of environmental allergies are one group, but there could also be food allergies as well. So perhaps you could give us an answer to both of those kind of two strands.
Okay, so first of all, what are the common allergy symptoms? And there are a variety: coughing, sneezing, itchy eyes, tiredness, cramps, nausea. It could be runny nose, swelling, difficulty swallowing, and just feeling all around miserable for the whole period. So those are some of the common causes, some of the common symptoms, some of the common causes. And one of them you noted, as you indicated, is food allergies. There's a number of things that you have to be careful about with foods, but there are other things like mold, pollen, sometimes bee stings. Some meds can actually be causes of allergic reactions, and you're familiar with some of them, like dust and peanuts, gluten, eggs, shellfish. There's just a whole variety of causes, but they can be usually figure out what those causes are, and then you want to figure out what is the best way to address them once you determine the cause, and then you develop the appropriate natural remedy to address it.
So you preempted my next question there, Dr. Jim. It's like you're a mind reader. I don't think that's one of the benefits of natural approaches or original medicine. But in terms of once you've identified those potential allergies, what's the best way to manage them from an original medicine perspective?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So once you've determined what those allergies are, what are the best way of managing them? Well, again, it depends on the type of allergy. Like food allergies, the most obvious thing is either avoidance or boosting up your immune system so that it's not as intolerable, some of these issues. And if it's molds, you need to address that. So there's basically two ways of addressing allergies. First of all, avoidance of the causes and contributing factors as much as practical. But sometimes, you're not going to avoid pollen during the spring. You're not going to avoid dust. So what you want to do is boost your immune system. So you want to do some immune boosting things to improve your level of tolerance. So the stronger you are, the less of an effect some of these things will have. So in summary, the ways to address them is either avoidance and or improving your ability to tolerate them.
That's clear. And in terms of you've mentioned allergies, and there's a kind of a connected term there in terms of intolerance. So, for example, there's a lactose intolerance or a gluten intolerance. What's the difference between an allergy and an intolerance, or is it the same process, just a different level of severity?
Yes, and that's a very good question. So, what's the difference between an allergy and intolerance? Well, as you noted, um, uh, allergies are usually a sensitivity. And the way I like to explain it, intolerance is a sensitivity with a college education where you don't even have the ability to break down certain substances. So, for example, you've heard of things like lactose intolerance or gluten intolerance. These are substances in certain kinds of foods, lactose in milk and dairy products, gluten and wheat products, that you just don't have the ability to break down at all. And so, they're, as you noted, they are kind of the same, but a sensitivity I would suggest is a little bit more problematic. And but again, in both cases, you want to identify what it is, and then either avoid or improve your ability to deal with it. And anything that you do, there's natural penicillins, for example. There's a whole host of things like quercetin, vitamin C, glutathione, all those kinds of things that will kind of enhance the liver's ability to deal with the toxic effect of accumulations of toxins in the body, and as I noted, boost the body's ability to tolerate both the sensitivities and those things that that are at one time you are intolerant to. You actually can build a tolerance to. So by strengthening your metabolic process, strengthening your digestive system, and there are ways of doing that using natural protocols.
Yeah, that's great. And so you've led into my final question, Dr. Jim. From the perspective of, or connected to the perspective of, how do you address or how do you deal with, how do you prevent allergies? Is there anything kind of preemptive you can do, again, from a general original medicine perspective to kind of prevent allergies?
Yes, and that's a very good question. So what can be done to prevent allergies? And the bottom line answer, by boosting your immune system. So there are systemic cleansing. So a lot of times allergies is just because you have an accumulation of all of this stuff in the system, and the body is just clogged up. It's toxic. And so good cleansing programs, building your immune system. I use things like, for example, local honey has also been shown to be very helpful for like pollen, etc. It basically, the bees go from different plants and they pick up all these things. And so by taking it in with the honey, you kind of develop an adaptation and build up a tolerance to that. There's things like intermittent fasting. Sometimes you just have to avoid certain dairy products until you get strong enough. We've talked about RBTI analysis in the past. One of the things that allows you to do is to determine how strong your digestive system is. And it also shows you what minerals you're lacking, which compromises the functional integrity of all systemic functions, of all the organs and everything. And so if you get those right minerals, if you supply those 84 minerals in the right fashion, through food, through sometimes supplementation, you can significantly build up your immune system so that you're more tolerant to a whole host of allergic factors, a whole host of allergic intermediaries, I would say. But anything that you do to build up the system, in particular the liver. And so there's an herb, for example, like milk thistle, that helps to rebuild it. And again, by giving it sufficient water, oxygen, the right amount of calciums and other minerals, the liver and the system, it knows how to heal itself when you put it in the right environment. So again, an integrated and comprehensive application of those 8 laws of health air, water, sunlight, nutrition, exercise, rest. I like what you said about doing right things rightly instead of doing right things wrongly. And that's the law of temperance, avoiding things that are harmful and those things that are even good for you doing in moderation. And then that mental, spiritual, emotional balance. That's the most powerful system known to man for preventing all chronic degenerative issues, including allergies.
Dr. Jim, thank you. For those viewing, I hope that's been beneficial to kind of address a topic that is I would say, a silently and quietly more prevalent in society and affects more people than we care to imagine. So I hope that's given you a starting point to look at. If you do want more detailed information, do leave us a comment, do reach out to us at the details included in the video description, and we'd be more than happy to take the next steps there. But Dr. Jim, thank you again. It's always a pleasure for you opening up these topics to us. Thank you for your time. Until the next one, we'll see you then. Bye for now.
You're very welcome. Bye for now. God bless.